Okay, everyone, this is a quick presentation. It's called Bitcoin versus Gold. Which one is more likely to become money? And I'm going to get started with a specific example. Elon Musk says he will accept Bitcoin for the sale of his electric cars. That's a big announcement that he made recently. And he also bought some, but I'm not addressing that part of it. Now, my question is how's that going to work? So I just want to look. Let's stop time and try a scenario two. And by stopping time, I mean today is February 22nd. Let's look at set the value of Bitcoin and the car in terms of the dollar. So let's just go ahead and set it. This is pretty close to reality as of today's date, which is February 22nd, 2021. A Bitcoin is, I haven't checked the price, but it was above 40,000 and maybe it's dropped below. I don't know. But it's close to that unless it's really jumped up or down, which it does. But let's just go ahead and arbitrarily just say that that's what it is. It has been this. And likewise, his car is maybe worth $38,000, but that's the base model. So you could get one that was 45 if you wanted to, if you got some options or whatever. So in essence, one Bitcoin is equal to 40,000 is equal to one Tesla. And that's what it is today. And what about tomorrow? And by tomorrow, I mean, 6 months, a year, even 2 years down the road. So let's look at two scenarios. And I've written some words over here, but let's focus on this side. Bitcoin doubles in price to $80,000. Well, if that happens, of course, if Bitcoin is going up always, then of course Elon's going to accept a Bitcoin for a car because his car's worth 40,000, and yeah, he's going to accept a Bitcoin for a car. But is that a two-way street? Is my question. I don't think it is. I don't think he said specifically that he just said he would accept Bitcoin. What does that mean? Well, in this case, uh, it's to his advantage to accept a Bitcoin, but who would be stupid enough to do that? Who would take their Bitcoin with 80,000 worth $80,000 and plunk it down for a car? Nobody would. Uh, Literally, nobody would do that. I don't think anybody would be that foolish. What they would do is they would buy the car for $40,000. They would sell their Bitcoin, buy the car for 40,000, and put 40,000 in their pocket. And the other scenario, on the other side of it, let's say Bitcoin halves in price to 20,000. Would Elon accept your Bitcoin for a new Tesla? No way. He's not in business to lose that much money. I don't think he is, unless the definition of what a business is has changed, which might be possible. In a way, he's changing what his business is. It's almost as if he's in the business of Bitcoin, but that's kind of a separate issue. He bought a lot of Bitcoin rather than investing in his Tesla. He invested in Bitcoin. So so now he's a Bitcoin investor rather than uh, a car manufacturing operation. But anyway, that's a separate issue. So if Bitcoin halves in price to 20,000, what I think that would mean is that Elon would, in this specific example, would now accept two Bitcoins for a car, So in other words, he didn't set his price in Bitcoin. His price is based on dollars. So will Bitcoin ever be used as money? Well, no, it can't be. I've just given you two examples where, and we know Bitcoin goes up and down like mad, and so it can't be used as money. It could be used as a store of value, theoretically, if it were to magically stay at the same price, like I've said in this example, $40,000, you could just hold a Bitcoin. And if it's always going up in value, then it's a speculation. People are just speculating. It's a mania type thing. And its value is based on its rarity. There's only, I think, 21 million possible Bitcoins. And I don't know about you, but I think either one of these scenarios could happen. So I'm not willing to speculate like that, but Elon apparently is. So if it's not in the interest of both buyer and seller, and I've underlined both, and it's an and statement, not an or statement, unless there's a gun involved, and there's not, unless it's a robbery, either the buyer or seller can walk away. So in both cases, either one is going to walk away if the price is set in Bitcoin. And if it's just dollars, all you're doing is you're buying a car for dollars, and the dollar is what the money is. So if the car ends up selling for $40,000 anyway, then what was the money used? Well, obviously I've just said it's the dollar. It's not Bitcoin, because the dollar is the currency. And here I'm saying, I'm just underscoring that. Isn't money what the central banks say it is? Yes. It's whatever they say it is. I don't get a vote in that. There's no vote that says, I can't vote and say, well, gold is now money. There's never been a vote for that. I don't get any say in it. The central banks say the U.S. dollar is the currency that we use. That's what they accept to pay their taxes in. And in fact, they kind of force it on the rest of the world. So it's the reserve currency for now. So for the U.S., as far as the U.S. is concerned, it's going to be money until it fails. And so here I'm asking, do the banks own any Bitcoin? I don't believe they own a single Bitcoin. Could be wrong. I mean, I'm not talking about individuals that work at the bank owning Bitcoin. I'm talking about, do the central banks hold in their reserves Bitcoin? No, but they do hold gold. Yeah, and they own a lot of gold. And especially China and Russia, which are doing trades in gold. They're bypassing the US dollar. So if the US dollar loses its reserve currency position, in other words, if they buy and sell oil, for example, with gold or with their own currency rather than the US dollar, then that's not good for the US dollar. And you can get that collapsing type situation where, I ask it right here, which one of the following is more likely to occur? The central banks peg the dollar at $40,000 equals 1 Bitcoin, even though they have no Bitcoin. Well, obviously, that is never going to happen. Now, here is something that the central banks would very much not like to happen, but they would certainly do this if everybody were to get rid of the US dollar, and I'm talking about outside of the United States as a reserve currency and start buying oil, for example, with gold or some other currency backed in gold, then it's all over for the dollar, and those dollars are going to come flooding back home, and with the money that's been printed, this might be their only option, to peg it at some value in which there's no preference for a person to have dollars or gold. And you could still use an ounce of gold, even though it's worth $40,000, just like the Bitcoin. You can apply blockchain technology to gold just as easily as you can Bitcoin. Gold, at least there's something there. There's something real there, and as long as you can trade one for the other, then you could peg that. And if one was grossly undervalued, in other words, if they said peg the dollar at $100 equals an ounce of gold, well, then they would have their reserves drained away. So they'd have to pick a number that was reasonable and possibly even higher than the value of gold, just to ensure that they don't get a draining of gold, which is what happened in 1971. Our gold was getting drained by foreign countries, even though we couldn't, as individuals, take our dollars in and trade it in gold. Other countries could. Well, they stopped that. So it could go back to this. Is what I'm saying. Is this would be the absolute last step, but infinitely more likely than that. So, and that's the only question I'm trying to answer. I'm not saying I wouldn't love to have bought Bitcoin when it was a dime and made a lot of money on it, but I don't know when to sell it. If I'd bought Bitcoin when it was a dime, I would have at least sold it when it was, I made 10 times as much at $1. So, when do you sell it? Is another question. All right. So, in my opinion, Bitcoin versus gold. Gold is much more likely, and I could even say infinitely more likely to be used as money. Now, granted, Bitcoin can be used as a store of value as long as it stays the same or goes up in value. But I don't see Bitcoin doing that. Gold tends to stay about the same, and I'm talking about over decades, or go up in value. Bitcoin, I'll grant you, it is going up, and I'd love to have been in it and somehow held it long enough to make money in it, but I would have immediately bought gold. Okay, well, that's all I got right there. Hopefully that's not too long. Thanks for watching, and if you I've never said this before, but if you like this, hit the like button. And if you don't like it, if you disagree, hit the don't like button. And leave a comment if you want to. And thanks and good luck.